living proof of the importance of someone reaching out, and I would imagine you might be too. I'm where I am today because of the people who reached out from a tiny United Methodist congregation. When I was about 5, we moved into a small rural community in Ohio. And this was back in the day when pastors visited newcomers to the area. So the pastor of the local United Methodist Church, Gordon, made a house call. Keep in mind I was 5 and I was enjoying a piece of watermelon, apparently too well because my dad yelled at me for making too much noise in front of our guest. It must have been kind of juicy. So Pastor Gordon said something to the effect of, "Oh, let her enjoy it." You wouldn't think that something so small could make such a big impact, but it did. The gentleness and kindness Pastor Gordon showed was one of my first memories of someone modeling the love and goodness of Jesus. Even all these years later, it's still a fond memory. And I have so many more examples of people who have reached out. I was the kid who literally had to be bribed with candy up front for children's time because there was no way I was getting up in front of other people. Yet here I am today, leaning into this amazing call God has placed on my life. And it's not in my own power that I'm here. It's the power of Christ who works in and through me and who worked in and through other people. It's all of that that's helped me to get to this place. Simply put, we need to reach out. Period. But don't just take my word for it. Jesus makes it pretty evident in Matthew 5, verses 14 through 16. He says, "Here's another way to put it. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven." Friends, once we have a relationship with Christ, we're not to keep it to ourselves, but to share it with other people. Like a beaming light, we're supposed to shine so that we can share the love of God with others, so that we can cultivate hope right where we're planted. Pastor Gordon brought out the God colors in the world through something as simple as a comment made to a child about a piece of watermelon. He cultivated hope. You see, I think we get so caught up in this misconception that when we shine, when we show the love of Christ to someone else, it has to be to make a big impact. But I find it's often the little things that make the largest statements. It's in the mundane, everyday moments that we have such opportunities to share Jesus with others. It's in those everyday moments with little kids who need to see what kindness and gentleness look like, with a stranger who's having a bad day and needs some encouragement, with a friend who's going through a tough time and just needs somebody to be there. Not to say or do anything, but to simply be present. I wonder, in what moments have you shared the love of Christ with others? In what moments have others shared the love of Jesus with you? When have you been able to come together to show the light of Christ in the darkness? Consider the ways you can continue cultivating hope during those everyday moments. Don't wait for the right time or the big thing, but live it in the here and now. You don't even need to wait until you go somewhere special to do something. You can reach out right where you're planted. You never know how letting your light shine can impact someone else's life. And as we let our light shine, we do so with an attitude of being in ministry with those we serve. Ministry with is so important. You see, it's no longer a model of doing to or for someone else. We come alongside our neighbors with the heart of a servant, offering hope while building relationships and fostering change for the better. It's about uplifting others while helping them better their own circumstances. Unfortunately, when we do for someone else instead of come alongside, it can be more harmful than good for both our neighbors and for ourselves. It's about making sure others still have dignity and feel worth, no matter what might be going on in their lives. One of the books that's really impacted me and others that I've shared it with is Diamonds in the Dew by Nora Stanger. It's this beautiful story of how she grew up in rural Appalachia in poverty and how she struggled and was eventually successful in making her way, while still honoring the value of her family and her experiences. And it's actually provided as a resource for you. In Diamonds in the Dew, Nora tells her experience as an 11-year-old child receiving Christmas gifts from a women's group who actually delivered the gifts to their home. And she goes into a lot of detail about it, but what stands out to me is this. Nora shares, "We must never make people our projects. People need relationships. From the relationships built, we can better understand the needs and then consider how best to work with our new friends to remedy those needs. If these women," referring to the ones with the gifts, "had taken time to talk with my mother and get to know her heartache, they would have understood her situation. If they had come prepared to look beyond our living situation, they could have seen the hearts of the people that were housed there. If they made eye contact and shared kind conversation, they may have seen strengths within the individuals there that would someday help them find courage to overcome poverty. These well-meaning women could have provided more than store-bought gifts for us. Their efforts could have blossomed into a relationship and resulted in gaining additional wisdom for their lives as well." What we do and how we approach it is crucial. Now, this isn't to say that all of our efforts are wrong or misguided, but it is to say that the way we approach our neighbors really does matter. In fact, something as simple as our terminology can be so important. Instead of looking at the people we reach out to as clients or recipients or those people, why not refer to them as our neighbors? The greatest example we have is found in Jesus. He was among the poor and the marginalized, and he didn't define others with labels. There are so many scriptures that we could discuss. A few that you might be familiar with: Matthew 25, the passage about the sheep and the goats. Romans 15, 1-2, that says that we who are strong ought to put up with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. Each of us must please our neighbor for the good purpose of building up our neighbor. You see, we can't just do this work because we should, although that is a good place to start. It's more than obligation. It's an opportunity. It's walking alongside others through accompaniment. It's asking the questions, what can we learn from one another? What can we receive, not only give? Not only does it foster relationship, it also begins to change us. It's about beginning to recognize how ministry with is so critical to both building relationships and being like Jesus. Not just to, quote, fix people, indicating that they're a problem, but seeing real transformation and community change. Because it's so much more than fixing things. It's about reconciliation so that people can fulfill their callings of glorifying God by working and supporting themselves and their families with the fruit of their work. It's about tearing down those walls of feelings of shame, inferiority, powerlessness, humiliation, fear, hopelessness, depression, social isolations, and voicelessness that are so prevalent in our society and our world. It's about letting our light shine, bringing out the God colors in this world, but also about seeing the light shine in others.